Sonic Mania, released in 2017. This is the Sonic 4 that actually also existed, but no one wants to talk about the other one, so... Anyways, with its return to the classic 2D formula of the Genesis Sonic games, many people really like this game, including myself. Of course, with it emulating the old 2D Sonic games, that of course means that there's going to be glitches. Like, a lot of them, actually. Most of them kind of useless, but some also pretty useful. I'll review all those glitches and see how glitchy is Sonic Mania. I guess I should quickly mention that I'm playing on 1.4 of the game, aka the one that came out right before Sonic Mania Plus came out. So some glitches that have been patched won't be shown in this episode. I should also mention that most of this information came from sonicretro.org. I also apologize because I might end up plagiarizing a few lines. Just to let you know, okay? I'm kind of new to this kind of thing. Anyways, this first glitch can be done in pretty much any zone. Simply run up to a monitor or some spike tops or pretty much any interactable object that you can move or be damaged by. Stand directly to the left of the object, then charge up a spin dash and hold down and left. Then you'll slide to the left until you release your spin dash. This is one of those useless glitches, by the way. It's not very useful besides fun, I guess. Another kind of useless visual glitch can be done, again, in pretty much any zone with the spring. Simply spring off of the spring, then hold the direction opposite to where you're going. Then you'll start pushing air, because apparently the air is very heavy around these days. This next one can only be done in Green Hill Act 2. You may notice that there's two backgrounds for this act. One for above ground, and one for below ground. If you go under this waterfall's tails, trigger the below ground background, try saying that 5 times fast, and then flying up without triggering the above ground background, again say that 5 times fast, you'll have the above ground with the below ground background. Again, try saying that whole bit 10 times fast, or just 1 time fast. This next one can be done to clear special stages really fast. What you have to do is hold a direction, then jump, then as you're jumping, hold the opposite direction. If you keep chaining these by jumping as soon as you land, you'll end up getting so much speed that you'll be able to catch up to that UFO really quickly. That is, of course, if you manage to control it, which is easier said than done, at least for me. But if you do manage to execute it correctly, you'll be able to clear special stages faster than you could say, "Boy, I just got all 7 emeralds!" If you say that really slowly, of course.
In Chemical Plant Act 1, there's a glitch you can do by using Supersonic, which you probably got by using the previous glitch. Head up to this section here where there's these 4 blocks that turn into a staircase. Go onto the very far right block, step on it, wait for it to start to go up, and then immediately turn super. Congratulations, you're now stuck here. Until, of course, the time runs out, or you roll underneath this block and you get crushed. Maybe this isn't the best way to use all 7 emeralds, right?
After beating the Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine boss fight of Chemical Plant Act 2, you end up in this room with the spring and the capsule. If you stand directly to the left of the spring and guide Tails by directional movements and spin dashes over to the button of the capsule, or you could just use 2-player like I did here, and you end up hitting the capsule while Sonic's on the left side of the spring, then you'll end up pushing the spring instead of going to Studiopolis Act 1. You can skip this cutscene though if you're on 1.04, but if you're on any other earlier patch, well, you're stuck here and you have to reset the game. Hopefully that spring doesn't hurt too much.
Here's a fun glitch that you can do as Knuckles in Studiopolis Zone Act 1. If you go over to this funnel, then go past the funnel to these bumpers, then glide to the very top right of these diagonal levers, then you'll bounce to them repeatedly, jitter a bit, then the screen will shake rapidly, and then you'll fly right through them. Same thing goes if you glide to the very bottom left of these. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. It does also allow you to skip a little bit of the stage, so it's not completely useless.
At the end of Flying Battery Act 1, you end up in this boss room where Dr. Robotnik, or Dr. Eggman, pushes a button and sends you down to the boss room. If, however, you're playing as Mighty and use the hammer drop technique right at the center of the stage, right as the ground collapses, then the garbage will decide that it doesn't exist anymore and you'll fall right to your death. Hopefully you hit that checkpoint.
Another way to fail at this boss fight is to go over to the boss fight arena, slowly move toward Eggman. Then when the laser starts going up, go all the way to the left and then immediately over to the right. If you do this correctly, then Robotnik will just disappear. And since he has to push the button for you to go into the boss room yourself in the first place, you're pretty much stuck here. Now all you can do is wait around here and stare at these blueprints for the Act 2 boss that you would probably fight had you not done this glitch. Here's two glitches that you can do as Super Knuckles in Flying Battery Act 2. First, go to the very near end of the stage where you're outside here. Then, right as you get on these little black ball thingies, immediately jump off and glide. And you'll glide to the very right side of the screen and then vanish. Then you'll glide for a few minutes, and then you'll glide so far to the right that you actually loop back all the way to the very far left of the stage. From there, the camera will scroll all the way back left, until it turns out you're just in a box. It's like in the first episode of the Knuckles TV series, except the box is invisible, and there's no gun agents or Wade Whipple to get you out, so... yeah, it's nothing like that series, but I want to make a reference anyway, because, you know, I want to brag and all that. If you instead take the top half at the beginning, and then go all the way till you reach this room, then you can do something a bit more useful. You'll notice some pretty high winds right here, which are mostly there because the boss room is like, right there, like very close to where you are right now, and so the game doesn't want you to skip the boss room. But we are going to skip the boss room by using Super Knuckles and gliding over to here, climbing on this wall. Then make sure your fist lines up with this one here. Then you reach the area after the boss room, and you basically just skip the boss. Oh, and you may wonder about these glider thingies that you use to get the press card during the cutscene. Well, touch one of these during normal gameplay, and you're pretty much just stuck gliding. You can't even pause. You can't even go into debug mode. Nothing. So, yeah, you're just gonna have to restart the console here, and maybe don't do that next time. You're so close, man. You're so close.
At the end of Press Garden Act 1, right after you beat the boss, go all the way to the right and then face left. If you do it correctly, then your character will start moonwalking. Man, that Michael Jackson resemblance goes further than I thought. Continuing the trend of end-of-act boss fights, during the Metal Sonic boss fight in Stardust Speedway, more specifically during Phase 2 with these Silver Sonic thingies, if you stand right next to a Silver Sonic, right as it's about to spin dash, and then try and charge up your own spin dash, then you'll be launched all the way to the edge of the screen. I guess somebody doesn't like being a copy. Right after the Metal Sonic boss fight, if you hold left going into Hydra City Act 1, yes, I call it Hydra City, by the way, you'll fall right into this monitor. I guess because you're falling so fast that the monitor doesn't have time to actually, you know, have collisions. So you just fall right through the monitor. And then if you want to, you can just jump out again. It's not really that, you know, consequential. Later on in the level, a minor glitch can be accomplished. After beating the boss fight, simply move the camera to the right a little bit, then jump back into the Eggmobile. You will now be equipped into the Eggmobile. Not very useful, but hey, it looks kind of funny. Sort of. If you use debug mode in Hydra City Act 2, you can get to the boss arena right here with all these blocks and bombs, without having to actually trigger the boss. The blocks have normal collision and all, but touch with the bombs and, well... One funny glitch that actually carried over from the classic Sonic games happens in Mirage Saloon Zone Act 1 as either Sonic or Tails. Simply go over to the far left side of the screen, making sure that the tornado has its very right edge peeking out. Then spin dashing causes you to fall right off the plane. This was also a glitch in Sonic the Hedgehog 2 during Sky Chase Zone, because apparently Sonic hasn't gotten over that problem yet. Want even more stupid ways to lose all your lives? Later on to the act, go over to this little platform here, then charge up a super peel out. Oh yeah, you'll also need the super peel out, which will be accomplished by getting the necessary metals, but whatever. After you do that, and you get to this platform, if you charge up a super peel out, you'll die again. I'm assuming this is because you get crushed by the platform and the spikes, but how you get clipped into that thing, I have no idea. And why you need to do a super peel out, I also have no idea. But it's funny, I guess. Here's one visual glitch that can be done in Barrage Saloon Act 2. Go over to the section right here, then jump on the spring. As soon as Sonic is in front of this ice cream cone right here, jump and hold the up button or the down button. Then Sonic will be upside down, either looking up or looking down. You can spin dash and super peel out while you're upside down, but doing either of those will cause him to go back upright. Same thing goes for if you let go of up or down. Hey, it's fun while it lasted, I guess. At long last is a useful glitch that can be done in Barrage Saloon Act 2 as Sonic and Tails. First make Tails drop down this barrel here, then hold down, then wait until you hear him charge up a spin dash, then wait until he revs it up again, and then quickly charge a spin dash and release it. If you do this correctly, Tails should hit the capsule, and you'll finish the stage without having to even beat the boss. What happens next depends on where you're at when the zone ends. If you're to the right of the barrel, you'll end up bouncing on this little thing until you skip the cutscene. If you enter the boss arena while the victory animation's going on, then you'll end up just, ignoring the boss and just proceeding on to Oil Ocean anyway. It's actually kind of funny. Here's another useful trick that you can do in Oil Ocean Zone Act 1. Well, at the very end, after you meet this boss and, this happens. Simply stand on this exact spot here and make sure you're on that spot when the results screen tallies up the results. It's easier to do as Tails or Ray because their victory animations don't move, whereas the other ones, move a little bit. If you do this correctly, you'll completely miss the lever that usually clears up the smoke, but this means that it won't take away any of your rings. Now you can play through the entire rest of the stage without having to worry about pulling those dang levers. And you'd better not pull any of those levers, because upon doing so, the game just goes back to normal. The smoke eventually comes back and it will take away your rings, all the rest as usual. Another weird visual glitch happens in Lava Reef Act 1 as Knuckles. Come over to this ramp here and then glide on it, and you'll start doing some somersaults in the air. At least that's how I visualize it. Apparently Knuckles is a really good Olympic gymnast. This next one is, you guessed it, a weird visual glitch. At the end of Lava Reef Act 2 while playing as Tails, if you glide onto the capsule after hitting the button, and then fly above it while the results tally up, if right before it goes into the cutscene, you jump off the capsule and start flying up, then Tails will look towards Little Planet as he floats upward. All this while you get to see that. Let's just say it became a meme for a reason. Here's another Tails manipulation glitch found in Titanic Monarch Act 1. If you stand near the boss room and then use Tails to enter the boss room, then the lights will dim a little bit. Then just wait for them to turn back on. Then you go in there and the lights won't dim, and in fact you can play the entire boss stage completely in light. Here's one glitch you can do in the next act as, it's easiest to do as Knuckles, but you can do it as any character if you want. Simply get caught in one of these orb things, then jump off it at this specific angle. Right as you get off, start to glide. If you did that correctly, you'll clip it to the wall. From there, you can mash the jump button, and you'll be in some area, I guess. Notably, you can do this in this secret room from the top right section in order to skip pretty much the entire level. This is basically because the competition mode spawns you back in here instead of having you deal with the final boss. So they put a signpost here, or in this instance, a capsule. For the others, you either need to do a frame perfect input, or a frame perfect input while a shield is up. So if you're doing this at home, just use Knuckles and save yourself a bunch of time. Just little aside there. Here's two glitches you can do in Egg Reverie Zone using debug mode. This first one's pretty simple, just activate a checkpoint and then go into the bonus area. After you're done, the screen will be completely black, yet you'll hear the Phantom Ruby sound effects. However, the game is not frozen at this point, and by holding right, you can actually die. Now just do that again and again, and you'll have triggered the game over screen and back to the file screen. The only problem now is they have to go through Titanic waters again, but I guess it's better than soft launching the game entirely. Similarly, if you activate debug mode right as you hit the final blow on the final boss, then stay in debug mode right as the dash attack happens, and then go back into regular mode, you'll just be frozen there and unable to actually continue on. And unlike before, you cannot continue, so you have to restart the game.
Now that we're done with all the glitches in Mania mode, let's try out Encore mode. But first, let's say you don't have the Plus DLC, but still want to access Encore mode. Well, you either have two options. Either hack the PC version, or do this next glitch involving debug mode. What you want to do is start a new file, and then right as the intro starts, press the Y button or whatever button you have to access debug mode. You have to do this basically right as it starts. So like, you basically have to press it right when the black is starting to fade back in. If you did correctly, you should see a ring floating above the tornado right here. Now just switch over to the signpost and bam! You cleared the intro. And apparently the Angel Island zone from the intro to Encore mode is right after the intro to Mania mode in the 1.04 version of the game. So you'll spawn right at Angel Island zone. Except it's a weird, glitchy, bootleg version of Angel Island zone, I guess. Except when you go past this trigger, then the background just spawns back in again, but then you go back and... you know what? Forget about the wish sticks. You're in Angel Island zone, that's all that matters. Then you make your way to the Combi capsule and, it looks like the background is loading here. Anyway, you free Mighty Ray, you choose one, the other one draws the Heavy Magician, yada yada. Except because you're not in Encore mode, you can't switch partners. I mean, you have to use debug mode in order to get past this bit. Then afterwards, you go into Green Hill Zone, but with your partner, which is pretty neat. However, if you skip the cutscene before you even go into Green Hill Zone, you'll end up in the Encore mode version. In fact, you can apparently finish the entire game like this with your unswitchable partner, and maybe you even being in Encore mode with lives. Which, wow, okay. If you're playing as Knuckles, however, you need to do a little bit of a variation. You still have to time the button pressing, that way you go into debug mode. But don't go out of debug mode once you place the signpost. Instead, just cross over it as a signpost or ring or whatever. Then you'll be able to play Angel Island Zone as Knuckles. Of course, if you do exit out of debug mode, then you'll be frozen in place, and you won't be able to hit the signpost at all until it's pretty much too late. So, if you don't get out of debug mode, then you're pretty much fine. Although, if you skip the cutscene, then you'll just appear as Sonic, which kind of deletes a little bit of the excitement, but still, Knuckles and Angel Island Zone. Pretty neat. Using Encore Press Guard in Act 2, you can actually skip the Heavy Shinobi boss fight. That is, by doing one of the most hardest glitches that I've ever done on this entire video. Go over to the last checkpoint of the entire level, then do a weird method to get your other partner character to go past the trigger while you as Tails fly. Like, the thing I've tried to do was like spin dash, jump, and then fly, and then try and land on the ramp at the exact same time as the partner, and then switching over and just hoping that I did the glitch correctly. If you did this part wrong, then you won't be able to fly past this part. If you did do it correctly, then you'd be able to fly higher. Now comes the less tricky part? Maybe? What you have to do here is fly up as Tails, and as you're flying up, hold down on the D-pad to cause Sonic, or whoever your partner is, to start spin dashing. Now fly up to this section here, then hold down right, and keep mashing the A button to fly over the boss trigger. Now, for some reason, every other attempt that I've done, besides the one where I've actually, done the glitch, every other time I've tried to fly over the boss trigger, Sonic, my other partner character, just respawned, which meant he was no longer spin dashing and then just walked into the boss room and just ruined it for me. Another time, I flew way too much to the left, and so he teleported in and hit the boss trigger. If you somehow manage to do this correctly, then you'll be right where Eggman is during the cutscene. And after you get your taunts in at him, simply hit the capsule and you've beaten Act 2 without even beating the boss. As you can probably tell because, the boss is like visibly attacking you while the results screen is going up. Naturally, this saves time during the speedrun of Encore mode, but really this only saves time for like a really good player because, man, this glitch is hard.
A way easier escape can be done in Stardust Speedway Act 2. Using the other player during the Metal Sonic boss fight, you can clip your partner character up to this little area right here. Then make your way up to this top right corner's Tails, or Ray if you prefer. Have him teleport up there, then right as you hit the ground, swap partners. If you did that correctly, you have skipped the entire second phase. Just make sure to grab that checkpoint, otherwise if you die during Metal Sonic Kai, then you have to restart the entire boss fight again. That wouldn't be good.
Remember that little Mirage Saloon Act 2 skip we did earlier? Well, if you try that in Encore mode, which you can do with any character now, and then go to the very far left of the barrel right as the victory animation plays, and then of course fall and be attacked ruthlessly by the heavy magician like before, if you then die, the game will then spawn you in Oil Ocean Act 1 with no timer. Like the timer would be 0 for the entire thing, at least until you activate debug mode or until you complete the act. This can be done to complete Oil Ocean Act 1 with 0-0 on the clock. Although, don't try to use this in speedruns because those measure time in real time, which kind of doesn't account for the whole Mirage Saloon glitch. Besides, it kind of wastes time, so yeah, it's fun for casual play, just not speedrunning. In Oil Ocean Zone Act 2, you can do something very strange by using these submarines. More specifically, this secret submarine, which you can only get to by going underneath this platform, which is pretty counterintuitive, but, that's kind of how secrets work. Anyways, what you want to do, and this is very easy to do as Tails, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're above this hatch right here to get into the submarine, and take damage by the spikes. If you're too far to the left or right, however, you'll just get stuck on the rim and, you can't pause, can't jump. Really, if you have debug mode, it works, but if you don't have anything else, you're pretty much just stuck here. Anyways, get this step correctly, and you'll go into the submarine regularly, but if you pause the game anytime after this, you'll be able to move, and jump, and fly, and go into debug mode. It's again pretty cool. I actually thought that you'll be able to skip the Oil Ocean Act 2 boss, the Mega Octopus, by using this glitch, but I guess not. Here's one final software glitch that you can do in Metallic Madness Zone Act 2. Near the end of the act, if you get your partner character stuck down this hole that leads to the boss, they quickly reach the big ring chamber location, then the screen will walk up where the chamber is, and now you're stuck here. And that would be a good place to end the video because, you can't really do anything else here. Yeah, so how glitchy is Sonic Mania? I'd say it's fairly glitchy, but not completely because for a lot of these you have to actually try and do them. So it's not completely solid, but not completely glitchy either. And with that concludes the first episode of a new series called How Glitchy Is This? Well, not necessarily a new series, because I did do an earlier Sonic Mania video back 5 years ago. But really, after that, the whole thing was kind of dormant until now, so this is the first official episode. And it's also the first official episode of Sonic Month, a month-long event I'm doing to celebrate Sonic's 35th anniversary by uploading exclusively Sonic videos for the entire month of June. If you like what you saw here, stick around, you'll find something you enjoy eventually. And while you're at it, hit the like button if you like this video. And as for the rest of you, have a good day and have a good Sonic Month.